Good morning, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today is Monday, May 3rd, and the moon is in Aquarius all day. We have a couple of important squares happening today. We have two squares, one between Mercury and Jupiter, and one between the Sun and Saturn. These are first quarter crisis in action squares. So we come sort of out of the gate on Monday morning with this sense of urgency to take an action. Now this goes back to the synodic cycles that began with the conjunctions of Mercury and Jupiter and the Sun and Saturn. So let's talk about Mercury and Jupiter first. Mercury and Jupiter actually made 3 initial conjunctions. I believe the degrees were 4 degrees of Aquarius. I want to say 11 degrees of Aquarius. Is it 11? 13 degrees of Aquarius or 14 degrees of Aquarius. And I believe 18 degrees of Aquarius. I am going to be going over this on my Astrology of the Week and Astrology of the Month, so you can get the specific degrees and Sabian symbols associated with those degrees. That being said, all of the Mercury-Jupiter conjunctions occurred in, of course, Aquarius, the sign that Jupiter was in when Mercury came. Now, there were 3 because this happened during a Mercury retrograde period. So we had our first one with Mercury direct, our second one with Mercury retrograde, and our third one with Mercury direct. So that was 3 opportunities to sort of get started on this. Now, Mercury and Jupiter have a special relationship to one another. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and Virgo, and Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius and Pisces, actually. And so we're kind of dealing with the whole mutable, what is that? Taco? Tamale? The whole enchilada. I knew it was a food reference, and I knew I liked it. This first quarter square is a crisis in action. This is about going out and getting the information that you need in order to build the structures that are going to help us to sort of live in a more fully actuated life. Full whole brain. This is like whole brain stuff, right? Because Mercury is the planet associated with the lower logical reasoning mind, and Jupiter is the planet associated with the intuitive mind. And so we have both. We have our mind sort of like, what's that expression? Working on all cylinders today. And so it is a good day to take an action, to build the foundations for your theories, for your treatise, for your exploration into all things Aquarius, which can be astrology for some, but can be just humanitarian endeavor. And then we also have the square between the Sun and Saturn. This was a synodic cycle that began in, I think it was January, when these 2 planets came together, of course, in Aquarius, right? Everything was in Aquarius. This is a crisis in action square. Saturn is the structures, Saturn is the boundaries, and the Sun is illumination. The Sun is seeing things clearly. And so we will actually see things clearly today. Now that may cause some sort of crisis and some sort of issue in certain sectors. But at least we have a general idea of what we're working with here. And so Saturn and the Sun work together. The Sun being the center of our solar system, the center of our experience. And Saturn being the boundaries that you can't pass, 3-dimensional reality. So we do get somewhat of a reality check today with that. But it's a reality check so that we know the next steps to take. How can we best act in a, relatively efficient way with the idea that we are building our future in the present moment. The moon also makes a conjunction to Saturn today, of course, because the moon's in Aquarius and Saturn is in Aquarius. And it makes a last quarter square to the sun. We have the moon in Aquarius, the sun in Taurus. This is a last quarter crisis in consciousness square. This is part of the lunation cycle that began with that new moon in Aries. Remember that new moon? It wasn't that long ago, but it seems like a lot has happened since then. This is a natural time of individuation. It's a natural rebellious time. And so this is a time for us to sort of become the captains of our own ship, decide which direction we're going to go to, and then figure out how we are going to help others along the way. Because this square eventually moves us into the Aquarian energy of humanitarianism. So really kind of an exciting time. One last thing. I know I've been talking a long time, and I kind of wanted to show you some of the flowers, but let's finish with the astrology first, and I'll take you out around a bit. So we have Mercury today moving into Gemini. That is significant because Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini. And it is significant because the north node of the moon is in Gemini. And we are about to move into eclipse season. The end of this month, we have a full moon. That is part of the eclipse season. So we can expect big changes, doors opening for us, etc. And we might get some intimations at this time. Now, that being said, at the end of this month, Mercury goes retrograde, and it will be retrograde in the sign of Gemini, the sign that it rules. So information is going to be at issue. But we will talk about that when we get to that, because that's a ways off. But Mercury does go into its shadow, I think around the 16th, I think, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, right around that time. But again, when I do the monthly and the weekly, we'll go over that. And I will do that today for you guys. So the weekend was not, for me, wasn't the energy I needed to do that. I was much more in a creative place over the weekend. So all right, guys, so here's the tabletop. It's continuing. Yesterday I finally finished the Leo, which is like the orange yellow there. Then I did Virgo. Actually, let me do this. So here we have there's Pisces. Leave it to me to start with Pisces, right? There's Aries. There's Taurus. There's Gemini. There's Cancer. That was hard to do. There's Leo. Virgo. And Libra. So now I have Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, and Aquarius to go. So I'm doing pretty good on this. Once I get it in my head that I'm going to do it, I really can't stop till it's done, which is great in some circles and not so great in others. All right, so let's take a look at what's coming up. Of course, we have obviously we have our tulips. We have all these, I don't know if they're like blades. You see the blade-like flowers, leaves. Those are the irises. Looks like it's going to be a very iris-heavy year. I love that. These are lilies that will come up. Of course, on this side, we have the maple is finally coming, leafing out. Yeah, and we have some tulips over here. This part of the garden doesn't get that much sun, so the tulips come up a bit later. There's some sedum, not sedum, right there. It's my toe. Of course, the hydrangeas are starting to leaf out. Oh, and back there we have, what is that, Solomon seal? I think. And yeah, that's going to get big soon. And then over here, of course, we have our roses, which you've seen before. But there's a, where is that plant? That plant back there. It's kind of like it's in the pea family. It's got those little leaves. It really has beautiful purple flowers, and it's enormous. And then over here, we have the hostas coming up. So those are cool. And we're starting to, my husband was supposed to get rid of these canes. I asked him to. Well, I just have to have patience. He has a lot to do. All right, so let's see if there's anything coming up in the garden over here. I don't think so yet. I don't see any green yet. Oh, I see a little green something, but I don't know if it's a plant. So that's what's going on here. Let's see, I'll bring you up here. And we can see the, this is fennel. We have fennel over there. That turns into an enormous plant. That mounding stuff to the right of the tulips, that's our globe thistle. That gets enormous as well. The bees love it. I did see a bee, folks. I saw one bee. So that was a good sign. All right, guys. Much love. Have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe. It's a busy day. It's a busy week. It's going to be a phenomenal month. That's going to mean many things for many people. I'll talk about it when I get to the monthly. Have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe. Much love.